directly ahead of us. On the other side of the swimming area is the Spring Basin. That's as far north as the river goes above ground. The basin's 125 feet deep and pumps out more than 400,000 gallons of water every minute, making that the largest first magnitude freshwater spring in North America. But that's where we're going to end our trip today. We'll start by exploring some of the upper 3 miles of the Wakulla River. This is considered wildlife preserve only, so it's not open to public boating. That means we'll get to see these animals in a little more relaxed native environment than we might otherwise. There will be a lot of things for us to stop and look at today, but I want to start by describing those that are hard to point out to the whole group. If you glance down at some point throughout this trip, there are 3 species of fish that are easy to identify. If they jump out of the water, those are mullet. Mullet look a lot like catfish without the whiskers. They're vegetarians that travel in groups of between 6 and 30, but we also have largemouth bass, which are medium-sized gray fish with a black stripe from their chin to their tail. Then we have spotted gar, which are a long, skinny gray fish with black spots and an even longer, skinny nose. But if you're noticing those dark, kind of ominous birds above us on the left, those are all vultures. We have 2 species of vultures in the park at the moment. They're just here in the wintertime. Most of these are black vultures. They have black feathers, black heads, and white tips on their wings. You'll notice when they're flying. But we have a couple turkey vultures in the park as well. They're a little bit larger. They have brown feathers and pink heads. These will both migrate from Canada all the way down to Chile, South America, and back throughout the year. And they spend a handful of them spend between November to February in the park here, not for a specific food source, but just this relatively warm, clear freshwater. I do mean warm. The upper portion of the river stays at 69 degrees year-round, so right now it's a bit relative. But the water is similar to the air temperature, or a little warmer right now. But that means that a lot of the reptiles that we see today are going to be down in the water with just their eyes and noses above the surface, because it's colder to come up and sit on shore. But ahead of us on the right, we do have a series of trees that are down along the riverbank here. These are trees that came down during Hurricane Michael. You notice that we never moved these. What's left of these trees make an excellent habitat for small critters trying to stay away from larger predators. So when we pass piles like this, you want to look for birds. We've got a couple of them here, turtles, and sometimes small gators that like these structures. But that's an anhinga that's taken off in front of us. We should see one of those a little closer later on. For now, I want to talk about the bird on the right that has that bright red face, that candy corn colored beak. We'll see a few of these today as well. But they have a handful of names. These are called common moorhens. They're also called Florida gallinules. They have 2 names because they fit into both categories, and people love to argue about which name is more appropriate. So we chose a middle ground. We call them swamp chickens. But everybody's looking on the right. Did anyone see the alligator? No? I almost missed it myself, so I'm going to back up once. We're going to try and see him. This is exactly what I meant. Look down in the water below the surface. Once you find him, point him out to your neighbors. That's a 7-foot alligator down underwater in the tree branches there. You see the ridges on his back?
You see it?
That's not a small reptile.
Yep.
Once you see him, point him out again.
Right there.
He's like, if I don't move, you can't see me. It's not a great picture. If there's one thing we'll get today, should be a better picture of an alligator, but I don't know how many more we'll see that close.
Looks a lot like a log.
Looks a lot like a log. They blend in well. But so these swamp chickens, they get that name partially because they are not ducks. They don't have webbed toes. They've got long, skinny toes just like a chicken. That means that they're really good at walking across the plant life on the sides of the river, but they're terrible swimmers. They tend to kick real hard. They don't always get very far. In just a moment, we're turning our first corner here, and I can set us up for one of my favorite views of Wakulla. As we make this turn, we can see all those bald cypress trees growing in the middle of the river. Bald cypress are what's known as deciduous conifers, and that's kind of a mouthful of words. But conifers just means they have cones and needles like a pine tree. Deciduous means that they lose those cones and needles in the wintertime. That's why they get the nickname for looking bald. But if you notice, especially on the left, all the roots sticking up out of the water around the base of these trees, these are called cypress knees. Because they're roots, they give the tree oxygen, nutrients, and stability, of course. But you'll also notice that these roots catch all the debris and the sticks and the plant life that flow down the river, and they create these islands or these ecosystems that a lot of our animals rely on. So when we pass these piles, every once in a while you do want to glance behind you. You might find more cool birds, cool plants, or critters sitting on the back sides of these. We do have a great deal of white ibis on the right, so I'm going to sit here for just a moment